Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
Man, what's up with that shirt? That looks especially saucy and appropriate for a Thursday.
Yeah, it is. So it's like 1980s Don Johnson straight up because it's fluorescent, like island.
Nice. I like it.
Close enough.
No,
Yeah, the palm.
I see it now. I see it now.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I have a similar shirt, just like in like motif, not in color or anything.
Okay.
Man, how was school yesterday?
It was tough.
Yeah,
It was a tough day. Yeah. Like
was it tough because you knew it was like the last one for the year?
yeah. And everyone was like parents, tutors, kid. I mean, it was fine, but like everyone was checked out. It was pretty funny actually.
Yeah.
So I did some work over lunch because I was bored. So the kids do whatever they want anyway. So I had this whole hour, and sometimes I'll go grab something to eat, or sometimes I'll bring a book and read, or sometimes I'll yesterday I was like, no, I'm gonna write some emails. So,
Good morning, Mike. How's it going today, sir?
hey, Mike.
It's good to see you.
So yeah, that's what I did yesterday. And I had a podcast recording after school. So that was going because I got to interview the head of marketing for Zestful.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, it was good. It was fun. Those guys are awesome.
That is awesome. I'm still on their email list, and it's nice to see, excuse me, that tool like progressing. So
yeah.
Hold on, Mike. We got to talk about this. Pretty good for a Thursday, sir. I don't know if you know this or not, but Thursday is when it all happens. Right? Monday is the best day of the week. Thursday is when you prepare to make your Friday easy, so that we can go into the weekend strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I've been thinking about it. So
yeah, you flex on Thursday.
Yeah, flex on Thursday.
Yeah,
I like that.
Sure.
Let's make that a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Man, so
what you?
I bought that software from that guy.
Oh, I almost feel like you did it for show material. It's like
I did not do it for show material. I did not let the emotions drive the interaction. So as is the case with software, one person does it, and then a bunch of other people either blatantly copy, right, or they reposition for like a different market. And so there's a bunch of people that have got these kind of Facebook softwares for like automating and finding and joining and messaging and all these things. And I'd already collected this information. So me and this guy are kind of going back and forth, and I was like, well, why would I not use Pepper? Because Pepper is like the popular one. And he was like, oh, well, Pepper's a ripoff. And I was like, well, of course, anybody's going to say that. So
it works.
Okay. It pretty much. Thank you. So I was like, okay, well, send me a link, I guess. Right. Yeah. So then I pull up Pepper and I pull up this guy's tool, and this guy's tool was cheaper. Right. So in the absence of knowing why I should go for the more expensive one, I did what everybody else on the planet does, and I made a decision based upon price. And this is super important, right? Because, me and this guy kind of like just worked through all of this stuff, or whatever. And, but like, I went with the cheapest one because I couldn't see a difference between the two options, right? So if you're too close to something else and you don't differentiate yourself in any way possible, it becomes a pricing decision always, right? Nobody buys a Lexus and is mad about it that it's just like a modded up Toyota. Like that's all it is, right? Infinity is that as well, but people are willing to pay more for that car because the brand that goes along with it, because they see a differentiation between that and the lower version of it.
Yes.
So
that's when you have a lack of good positioning in an industry or a niche, people always race to the bottom.
Absolutely.
If you want to charge more for your stuff, you have to position in a way that shows more value. And
absolutely.
And a lot of us even tried to do that and still fail.
So the pepper tool was going to be $150 a month for this thing, which just seemed a little excessive, right? And this tool I'm using is $50 a month.
What?
Yeah. So it's not just like a little bit of difference, right? It's pretty significant.
So is this guy underpriced or is Pepper overpriced?
That's a good question. I don't, right? This is the other part of the problem, right? I went and I looked at Pepper. I saw the pricing. I saw the same chart that everybody puts on every SaaS pricing page ever, right? The introductory, the middle, and then like the high tier, and then the enterprise contact us, kind of deal without any of the check marks. Every software company on the planet has one of these. And so like I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the other one, and I was like, it was information overload. So I was like, I'll go with the cheaper one and see if that does something special for me.
What type of app are we talking about here? What does Pepper do?
Good question. So all of these tools are built to help automate and do the stuff that everybody does on LinkedIn that you're not supposed to talk about doing onto Facebook, right? So there is a little CRM that you can use on Messenger, right? So you can label your conversations in the DM, right? Lead, follow up, all that stuff, which is kind of cool. It automates looking for people to connect with and to grow the network. I mean, it's the LinkedIn automation tools just for Facebook.
LinkedIn automation tools for Facebook. That just sounds so weird. That's the world we're in,
I know, but like, here's the deal. People do this on LinkedIn, right? They're trying to connect with the right people and stuff like this. HubSpot or Active Campaign, same idea. What?
HubSpot has one.
Huh?
HubSpot has one that does. HubSpot has a tool that does something similar-ish.
Oh, on Facebook?
Yeah, I think so.
Huh? I didn't know that.
It's new. Yeah.
Sorry, that really derailed me. I don't remember where we were going. Oh. I need to, right? Because like not everybody's going to engage with you and not everybody's a prospect. Okay, great. Well, cool. Facebook has a friend cap, 5,000 friends.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn doesn't have that. So the way that I'm going to use this tool is to go look for people who do engage with my stuff and stay connected with them, disconnect from the people who don't engage with my stuff, and then fill that gap and just have this constantly repeating thing. So that way my engagement posts and my lead generating posts are getting seen by consistently new people.
I see. I get you. That makes sense. Cool.
So,
yeah, interesting. Yeah. Well, that is funny, Mike. We talked about this yesterday actually, and I was jabbing at John because I felt like he was trying to train him, and the other guy was trying really hard to sell him badly. So it was just kind of comical. And then he ended up buying it from the sales guy. So,
yeah, I'm not sure if Mike is referencing that or if he's referencing the Thursday thing.
Good call. Must have been Yeah. We used to say Thursdays are the new Mondays. Is that what we used to say?
Thursdays are the new Mondays because we were doing the BIL bets, and it was going to be expensive on Fridays, and so we were trying to make sure that Thursday was stacked, so that way on Friday we could just like not exactly cruise, but have an easy path to like not having to pay.
Right.
Because it's so easy to all of a sudden look up and it's Wednesday or Thursday. What the hell?
Because where'd the
week go?
Because when you love Mondays, why not make 2 Mondays, right? Because if Mondays are fantastic, let's have 2 of them.
Smart man, Jay Jordan.
That's right. That's right. It's like chocolate cake, right? If you're gonna have chocolate cake, why not have 2?
Exactly.
Let's just make it happen. I have to live up to my food reputation now. I'm about to use metaphors and references to food more often.
So I eat rather quickly, just from the way that I was raised and then being in the military and stuff. But like, there's also this joke that I've got with a friend. If this size of bite tastes good, a bigger bite is going to taste better because I have huge bites.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is and I actually finished this, and I'm going to drop this by your house today. I was just going to drop it on your porch.
Cool.
The
digital minimalism.
It talks about mindful eating in there too,
Very
because
cool.
when you practice mindfulness throughout your entire day, not just for digital stuff, it actually works better. Surprise, surprise. No such thing as work-life balance. There's no such thing as adding something somewhere. You either add it or you don't.
It's honing the intention of the whole thing, right? Or, because I feel like there's so many different angles of like looking at this, right? You can take the Jocko approach of like the discipline, right? And that discipline equals freedom. The tighter I follow my diet, the looser I can be around the holidays, kind of deal. Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And discipline is like a super necessary component to all of this. But for me, it's just like intention. Like, are you thinking about your actions, right?
That's an interesting thought, because I think that can go across personalities differently, right? Because my intentions are often where they should be, because I think about a lot of things before I do them. Now, I'm not like personality-wise, I'm not someone who sits and stews and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks. I'm activators, number 2 and number 3 on my strengths finders, so I act quickly. But I do always take thought intentionally and stop. I say always, often. But it doesn't mean I always do what I want to do, which is where I think the discipline side comes in, of creating environments and creating accountability and creating communities to help you with the intention. So I think you need both very much. Some people need intention a lot more because they're not doing it, so they won't take the right action. And then some people have the right intention but don't connect it to action, right? And so this is actually a little preview into my book that I'm writing.
Hey,
I'm thinking about. And I think frameworks are a big part of that. But you have to have the intention, and then you have to have something to put it into that you can stick accountable to. And if you don't have one or the other, then you're missing a big chunk.
Yeah.
Because I can intend to learn Kung Fu, right? And I have videos sitting in Marco Polo of John teaching me Kung Fu. But if I don't act on those videos, then my intention doesn't matter. Intention has to connect to action.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And from like a business and sales perspective, right? Can you keep that intention throughout the whole thing, or does it drop away at some point because of the pressures of anything, revenue, relationships, right? Status, or anything else like that. So, because like I read Essentialism by Greg McKeown, right? I think we talked about it on here. And everybody talks about how time is a non-renewable resource and yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's so it's beaten into like anybody who does any kind of development reading, right? And even people outside of it. And that was the first book for me that really kind of like, oh, right? Like it went from that, oh, I kind of get this, to like a conceptual like weight of this idea that like when you say yes to something, you're just by default saying no to something that could be happening at that same time, right? And so for me as a solopreneur, right, I have the activities that I have to do as a salesperson. I have the things that I like to do as a business owner, right, and a salesperson and stuff. So if I take a networking call with Jake Jordan at 5 p.m., I'm just by default saying no to like hanging out with my family. Right. And it's I think it's super easy to like look for the things to say yes to. And I think that we're really reluctant to say no to things, but we're saying no to like everything that's opposite of the things that we're saying yes to. So like think about that, right? Before I say yes to this thing, right? Jake and I talk about this a lot because, entrepreneurs have shiny thing syndrome, right? You see this new thing, and you're like, oh man, I want to do that. And I've started this other thing. This is going to be easy. But, right, when you're saying yes to this other thing, you're saying no to more focus on your primary thing. You're saying no to spending, more time with friends and family and recharging and stuff like this. And like, that's super important, right? Because I have started and closed down like, more than a couple of projects over the past 2 years of just kind of trying to find my way, because it was I want the opportunity, right? And what this all comes down to, right, is the dopamine rush, right? The potential of the good outcome that comes from saying yes to this thing. And I was journaling about this just this morning, right? So we have this idea, we love this dopamine, right? And now we have this little slab that we carry around in our pockets that gives it to us all day, every day. Like it's specifically designed to like give you a dopamine drip so that way you remain like essentially addicted to it.
Yep.
And now I think we're all just like over conditioned, over tolerant, like dopamine addicts.
Mm-hmm. So we need more hits, just like an AO addict.
Absolutely, right. And they got to be bigger. They got to be bigger, right? And exactly. And I find that to be really interesting this week. Really the past month, right? I think the next book that I want to like work on and write is like this idea of when we're saying yes, we're saying no to something else, right? I was playing cards once with this group of friends, and there was this guy who was always quiet and like super cool guy. Everybody always wanted to hang out with him, but he was just kind of a loner, right? Kind of a quiet guy. His name's Jonathan, and we're playing cards one night, and the guy who was running the game, his name's Paul, and he was like, "Hey man, I think we're going to play next week. Do you want to come?" And he says it to me, and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then he asks Jonathan, and Jonathan's like, "Yeah, man, I don't know. Can I tell you maybe?" And Paul was like, "Man, I'll absolutely take a maybe from you." And like I thought about that, and I was like, "Man, like that's so weird. Like, why is that a thing, right?" And then I just realized that like when that dude says yes, or even maybe, it's such a measured maybe. Like the guy was, you could tell that he was aware that he was going to potentially not have to do something else, and it gave some weight to the entire conversation about a poker game, right? I think about that all the time because it's like, oh man, I can talk whenever you want.
Yeah.
Right. And as salespeople who were feeling this pressure to be always on and Johnny on the spot and always available and everything else like this, nobody wants to work with a guy who has, completely open time on their calendar.
Yeah.
Right. Because that just means you don't have any other clients to work with. So, it
must be
why?
Something. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And, I've learned all the mind games about like reframing. Oh, my time's important too. And all of that stuff. But like, at the end of the day, you just don't have to be immediately available for everybody who wants to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? And we have all these tools like Slack and Discord and email. And I mean, it takes effort to like actually like disconnect from this stuff in a way that doesn't just like, hurt you.
Yeah. And I think that's why Simon Sinek stuff took off so much, because since we live in an atmosphere where we're conditioned to say yes, like what our phones are essentially telling us to do is say yes, because we're notifying you. Say yes. There's a thing here, right? Then they gamify it so you stay longer and all that good stuff, right? And so one of the big things that I feel like, and I'm a big proponent of this, we've talked about this quite a bit, is you can't get rid of something without putting something else in, right?
Yeah.
Thursday is here, Gabriel. That's right.
Oh man, look at this. Gabe has been drinking the Kool-Aid. He came in here strong. Look at it. Just ready. I will say, next Tuesday in the evening.
That's right.
It's going to be hype.
It's going to be on Donkey Kong.
It's going to be on like Donkey Kong. Yeah.
That's right. We're going on Gabriel's show, and we will definitely link up and watch our social, because we'll be self-promoting.
Absolutely.
But
we're going to turn it into Ty Lopez.
Yeah.
You know what I love more than this car? My books that are in the garage for some inexplicable reason.
For the shot. Just for the shot. Because it's an Airbnb. He doesn't even live there.
Yeah,
exactly. So we talk about you can't take something away without putting something else in, right?
Agreed.
Like we're a vacuum. It's our brain works and need things, right? And so with the Start With Why and the Find Your Why type books, I think those became super popular because people started going, okay, I'm filling my day with lots of things for these dopamine hits, and the mobile device is just the object that gets all the blame, right? Like the tablet or whatever. But the point is we're conditioned now. So Donald Miller came out with a new thing called Hero on a Mission, Get Back Your Freedom, sort of thing, right? Which is I'm one of the things I'm teaching now. But I think that the connector that happened between Simon Sinek that Don did was that and I believe this fully. We've talked this for you and me actually for a long, long time. Is if you don't having something meaningful to connect to, like just like, oh, I need to stop doing this. I'm going to start doing this instead. You'll slide back to the addiction thing because you have to fill it with something that's meaningful to you, right? So, like, my question I'm always asking myself is there something meaningful that I can fill my time with to replace whatever? Which is like my sugar is so hard, right? The sugar tastes fantastic, and why would I replace it with like collard greens or something green, right? It's supposed to be meaningful, so you have to make some sort of connection there. Otherwise, you just slide back to me and chocolate cake.
Well, that's what they talk about in The Power of Habit, right? Charles Duhigg, right? You have the trigger, whatever that thing is that makes you want to go do the habit. So you have to acknowledge that that trigger exists, right? And then you have to find something else to map to that trigger. So that way, right, if you're feeling, a low point of energy in the afternoons, right? So you get up and you go get a cookie, right? And then you get into like 15 conversations on your way to and from getting the cookie. This is an extreme example and not here because my cookies are right here and I can get them without having any conversations. But like you can't really figure out why you're not getting all your work done. Well, okay. So when you're having that moment of like low energy and you know that you're going to have all these conversations, like maybe you have like a protein bar at the desk, right? But because like without that thing, you're gonna end up doing it anyway because it's just too easy not to, right? We had this line in Kung Fu. There's always a reason not to come to class. Always, right? And like some of the more like dedicated people would come just straight from work because they knew that if they went home and that the butt hit the couch, the gravitational force of that couch just reaches up and envelops you and just like pulls you into there, right? It's like Danny DeVito and like Always Sunny, when he's like hiding in the couch. I don't actually imagine you watch Always Sunny, Jake, but for other people out there, it's so there's always a reason not to go. And I remember the first time I heard that, right? There's this guy named Vic who was kind of the enforcer of the school, right? He was just, he had high standards and he was really good. So he just kind of held everyone to that kind of same standard. And he's left-handed. So you train ambidextrously in Wing Chun. And so everything you have to do on one side, you have to do on the other. Well, since our teacher's right hand dominant and most people are right hand dominant, Vic has got a really good right hand. And whereas while we all have like decent left hands, his is really good. So what happens is that when you spar with him, he's unbeatable. So he was kind of this enforcer of the school and stuff. And so then this guy was like, yeah, like I might be here. And he goes, always reason not to come. And then he just leaves. And I was just like, oh, whoa, it's crazy.
Yeah. And he had the weight to say that where you went, whoa. Because if some random guy you didn't like said it, you'd be like, punk.
Oh, dude, I'm a to put it in the common parlance, right? I'm a white belt and I'm talking to a black belt. Right. I mean, it works differently in Kung Fu, but like that's essentially the conversation I was having. Right. So I'm like, oh, well, this, and Victor would come straight to class. Like he works at TD Ameritrade, which is up in North Fort Worth, and his house is kind of past the school. So like it was convenient, but he also kind of set his schedule so that way it would make sense for him to come straight to class because he just knew that other stuff would get in the way. And totally. Man, I respect that, right? I respect the people who get up at 5:30 in the morning to get up and go work out because they know that they're not going to have the willpower to do it at 5:30 in the evening or at 6 or at 7, or they're prioritizing, the family time during those family hours. Like it's that intention. It's like how like that, like stick to itiveness, that thoughtfulness. Like this is important to me. I'm going to carve out time for it and I'm going to do it consistently because my favorite line that I think I've ever heard in a speech is we judge everybody else by their actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions. And like, that's where the tracker comes from, right? Because
yes,
I was talking to somebody else about the tracker and they were like, isn't it, what did they say? They said, isn't it limiting and hurtful to just boil yourself down to like a set of behaviors? And I was like, it absolutely is. However, that's not what I'm doing.
That's not the point.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, so what's the point? And I was like, these are habits I'm trying to develop. So
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm actually developing them and not just like running around being like, oh, I journal all the time. I meditate all the time. And, because then you look up and you realize, oh, it's been a couple of weeks or a couple of days or a couple of months, or, mentally in my head, I'm still just as good at Kung Fu as I was the day that I stopped going to the Kung Fu school, like over 2 years ago.
Right.
And what a stupid thing to like really think. What a ridiculous idea to like have in my head that I'm just as good as the guy who was spending 10 hours a week every week in that school, that I'm just as good as that. It's ridiculous, right?
Right.
Nothing else do we do that at, right? I know people who lift like a lot, right? And are very fit, and you take a couple of weeks off, you don't lift the same weight. So yeah, all that is to say is that in my mind, I'm still just as good, but there's just no way that I am. So like, let's look at this truthfully. And I kind of carry that same idea into everything, which probably has some harmful side effects, but
yeah. And
very
if you've ever been to therapy at all, counseling, therapy, anything, one of the very first things that I've talked to people who've done it, they almost every counselor, it's like they've been trained to tell you, remove the words always and never from your vocabulary.
Yep.
There's just very few things in life that is actually true for us. You might as well just remove it, because you're just causing problems with your framing, and the other person talking hears it as, like you're always late. No one's always late. Right. Yeah. It's just not true. So you're creating conflict, and
and the thing about that is that when you do that to yourself, it comes out in your conversations with like other people, right? So if you're beating yourself up for not being like always or never, then you're going to do the same thing to like anybody else. And this gets really, really harmful in conversations because, oh, you're always late. And then the other person's like, well, not always.
Right.
And that's going to be the response.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is because you're putting weight into that question, into the accusation. You're always late. Right. Same thing happens in sales. Jake, you want more leads, don't you?
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So what happens is that presumptuous question, we want to run away from it because we don't want the label, right? Or maybe we don't want to admit to somebody who we don't know super well that this is a thing going on, right? So how you phrase your questions as a salesperson is incredibly important, because we get excited, right? Oh, Jake, let's just go ahead and go, man. We can do this and that for you and everything else. And well, man, I didn't even say that I have these problems yet.
Right. I've actually said that to someone. I've never even said that I needed what you are selling me here.
I love it, right? Because now with all these people like doing DM selling, the entire history is just right there above them, right? It's not like a conversation where the details get lost and stuff like this. And so, oh man, how you communicate this stuff is super important, because not only does it impact how they're going to like react to you, like since we all essentially have a personal brand, those interactions like are forever.
Oh man, you did all over the place. LinkedIn, Facebook, and particularly LinkedIn. It's a big thing for now for women to screenshot DMs.
Oh yeah,
men who are just like creeping on them, and even if they're just being salesmen, but they're being creepy salesmen, just so happens, dude. Yeah, it is out there for everyone to see now.
It is. It's crazy, right? And then, because I posted something on Facebook about someone talking about how they had gone under someone on their team's email address, and they were a female and he was a male, and he was noticing like the pushback and things that he was getting from people.
Yeah, so good.
And I was like, oh, so then I shared this on Facebook, and man, it caused quite the stir, and of course it was all led off by an older white guy who's like, I've never seen this, so therefore it can't possibly exist. And it's like, that's not how this works.
Crazy. It's crazy. There's I can't remember if you shared this with me or somebody else, but basically they did some interaction with a new client, and it was a female interacting with an older white guy male. And she was asking questions, and he was just like torching her. Like, it was unnecessary the way he was talking to her. So same person switched to her male companions email and had the exact same conversation, like rebooted it, same company and everything. She just switched to the mail side, and the mail asked the question, and the guy answered the question kindly and asked how else he could help. It was like, wow. And so she screenshotted all these shots and blurred his face or whatever. She's like, this is an actual conversation from this past week from someone I just paid money to that became their client and got treated completely different when I switched from female to male.
Yeah. Man. Bill, what do you got today, sir?
So today, gosh, I've got quite a bit, actually. It's a Thursday. I've got another podcast I'm recording this afternoon. I've got a couple follow-ups with potential clients that I talked to last week that they weren't ready to really talk about buying last week at all. They were just reaching out and touching base to see what I did. Wasn't time to ask. Look at that big old smirk. See, here's the thing. If Jake doesn't close the sale, John thinks Jake did it wrong, but it couldn't be that they weren't ready to buy.
Hey, hold on. Was there a discussion that they said that they're not ready to buy? Or are you making an assumption that they're not ready to buy because you weren't getting the signals you wanted that indicated they're ready to buy?
No, I didn't frame the conversation as a sales conversation to start. It was an interaction through content where I asked if we should talk some more.
Okay, good.
To get to know the client better. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
So I followed up, and I'm supposed to have a couple of actual sales conversations because they're framed that way.
Good.
And then let's see, I've got more writing to do. So that's a bunch of my day.
I have I'm going to meet with Levi. We have sales lab at 9:00. We're going to be role playing and practicing and improving in there. I have a networking call with this guy who I've been connected with on Facebook for a while, and like our views seem to have like a ton of overlap. And I was like, man, can we just network and Zoom? And he was like, yeah, man, I would love to. So I'm looking forward to that. And other than that, man, it's going to be playing with this new software, so that way I can, own that. Doing blocking and tackling, right? Just like task stuff. It's not a super heavy call day for me, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. And you're working on a landing page too, right?
Landing page is almost done. Well, you tell me, is the landing page almost done?
I don't know. I was actually going to ask you offline if you had done some checkbacks with Erica. So
I sent it to Erica. She said that it was a good starting place, but she had some feedback. I haven't seen the feedback, but I've not checked all my inboxes yet. So it could be messenger, it could be email. I gotta go
check all my inboxes. I love that.
Yeah, I gotta go complete the circle.
That'll take a good 36 minutes just to hit all that.
Well, it's gonna take 3 hours because I'll go to my Facebook Messenger and I'll have other DMs, and then you know how that goes.
Oh yeah.
All right, Bill. Cool. Anything gonna get in your way today?
No. Good,
man.
Yeah.
Good. No, I mean, I don't think so. Goal is just to get as much done as possible. This is Levi pinging me to tell me to come over to our morning session. So we're going to say goodbye here. Levi, I'm on my way. Jake, have a great Thursday, buddy. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. See everybody tomorrow. Thanks, Bill.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Thanks, Mike. Michelle's not here.
No,
you know what? If my significant other was home for the first time in many, many weeks, I wouldn't be here either. So, all right, cool. All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Bill. Have a good day.